The history of Christian missions in Africa is a complex and multifaceted narrative that spans several centuries. The arrival of Christianity on the African continent can be traced back to the early days of European exploration and trade. The motivations behind these missions were diverse, including religious zeal, colonial ambitions, and a genuine desire to bring education, healthcare, and social reform to the local populations. 1. Early missions, 15th–18th centuries. The Portuguese were among the first Europeans to establish contact with Africa in the 15th century. As they explored the west coast, they brought with them Catholic missionaries who aimed to convert the local populations. During the 16th and 17th centuries, various Catholic orders, such as the Jesuits and Franciscans, engaged in missionary activities in parts of West and Central Africa. The Protestant Reformation in the 16th century led to the emergence of Protestant missions, with groups like the Moravians and the Dutch Reformed Church establishing a presence in southern Africa. 2. Expansion and evangelization, 19th century. The 19th century witnessed a significant expansion of Christian missions across Africa. European powers, particularly Britain and France, played a major role in this expansion as they sought to consolidate their influence on the continent. Missionaries were often at the forefront of European exploration, acting as intermediaries between the colonial powers and local communities. Missionaries focused on evangelization, establishing schools, hospitals, and churches. They played a key role in translating the Bible into local languages, contributing to the development of written forms for many African languages. 3. Impact on education and healthcare. Christian missions were instrumental in the development of formal education in Africa. Missionaries established schools and provided education that often included a blend of Western and local knowledge. Similarly, healthcare services were extended to African communities through mission hospitals and clinics. Missionaries addressed diseases such as malaria and provided medical training to locals. 4. Social and cultural transformations. Christian missions had a profound impact on the social and cultural fabric of African societies. They introduced new ideas, values, and social structures, influencing everything from family life to governance. The spread of Christianity sometimes led to cultural clashes and syncretism, where traditional African beliefs and Christian doctrines merged to create unique hybrid belief systems. 5. Criticisms and controversies. The history of Christian missions in Africa is not without controversy. Some critics argue that missions were used as tools of colonialism, serving the interests of European powers. There were instances of cultural imperialism, where European cultural norms were imposed on African communities, often undermining local traditions. 6. Independence and indigenous church movements. The third phase of the missionary movement in Africa, spanning the late 18th to the 19th century, marked a pivotal period that significantly contributed to what is often referred to as the Fourth Great Age of Christian expansion in 20th century Africa. This era saw an extensive effort by Christian missions of various denominations to spread the Christian faith, win converts, and bring about transformative changes in African societies. 1. Evangelical revival and missionary initiatives. The evangelical revival movement in the late 18th century, notably catalyzed by William Carey's influential treatise in 1792, spurred Protestant initiatives. Organizations like the Baptist Missionary Society, 1792, London Missionary Society, 1795, and Church Missionary Society, 1799, were established to carry out missionary work in Africa. The British and Foreign Bible Society, 1804, played a crucial role in promoting Bible translation and printing, contributing to the spread of Christianity. 2. Catholic revival and new missionary congregations. Catholic Christianity, historically present in Africa since the late 15th century, experienced a revival in the 19th century. The establishment of new missionary congregations in France, such as the Congregation of the Holy Ghost and the Society of African Missions, played a key role in revitalizing Catholic missions in Africa. Catholic missionary efforts faced challenges during the late 18th century due to the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars, but the formation of new congregations in the mid-19th century revitalized the Catholic presence in Africa. 3. Missionary linguistic work and education. Christian missions, regardless of denomination, actively engaged in linguistic work, producing grammars, dictionaries, textbooks, and translations of religious texts in African languages. This pioneering work laid the foundations for literature in African languages. Education became a central focus of Christian missions, with the establishment of schools aimed at spreading Christianity, training African catechists, and providing basic education. Missionaries emphasized the importance of adapting to African cultures and languages to facilitate effective communication. 4. Cultural impact and westernization. Christian missions had a profound impact on African societies, introducing new cultural norms, education systems, and religious practices. Missionary establishments, including schools, churches, and hospitals, often reflected European styles and practices. Despite missionary efforts to westernize Africa, Africans were not passive recipients. The adoption of Christianity and the cultural exchange that ensued were shaped by African choices, needs, and efforts to integrate Christianity into the African context. 5. Independence and Africanization. As African nations gained independence in the 20th century, there was a growing movement toward Africanization of Christianity. Indigenous church movements emerged, seeking to express Christian faith in ways that reflected African cultural identity. The missionary legacy, while contributing significantly to the spread of Christianity, also faced criticism for aspects of cultural imperialism and the imposition of European values. In conclusion, the history of Christian missions in Africa during this period is a complex narrative of evangelization, cultural exchange, and societal transformation. The legacy of these missions continues to shape the religious and cultural landscape of Africa into the 21st century. In the 20th century, as African nations gained independence, indigenous church movements emerged. These movements sought to create a form of Christianity rooted in African culture and led by African clergy. In conclusion, Christian missions in Africa played a significant role in shaping the continent's history, influencing social, cultural, and educational aspects. The legacy of these missions is complex, with both positive contributions and criticisms, and it continues to be a subject of study and discussion in contemporary African history.